And what they did is made it so the Democratic Party was no longer a party of working people. And Bernie Sanders was trying to bring it back to a party of the working people. And they would not let that happen because they have all the money. Bernie Sanders, he famously, his campaign was built on small dollar donations. Mm-hmm. And that can get you a long way. But when there's more money on the other side and they're way more organized, and to your point, that is the organization that you just discussed. When you had, Mayor Pete, Beto O'Rourke, you had all these people drop out on the exact same day right before a big election and endorse Joe Biden.
So weird.
If
and it's not like Joe was doing great. It's not like Joe was killing it.
He wasn't. He got destroyed in Iowa. He got destroyed in New Hampshire. And look, if they didn't do that, Bernie Sanders would have won.
If you want to understand why working class voters have lost faith in the Democratic Party, you don't need to read a 400-page political science book. You just need to watch what happens when a progressive commentator sits down across from a corporate-leaning host on a major podcast and starts dropping receipts. During an appearance on the PBD Podcast, Kyle Kulinski broke down the exact structural machinery the Democratic establishment used to protect its corporate donor base and derail Bernie Sanders in 2020. But the real story isn't just Kyle's analysis. It's how host Patrick Bet-David responded. Instead of pushing back, Bet-David admitted that watching party elites orchestrate a last-minute blackout to protect Joe Biden was one of the most frustrating things he'd ever seen. When a right-wing host and a progressive commentator are looking at the exact same primary sequence and coming to the exact same conclusion, you aren't looking at spicy debate. You are looking at a concession on tape. I'm Neel. This is the honest perspective. We cover the political media landscape without the fluff, the access journalism, or the corporate spin. Let's get into it.
Okay.
Well, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything. I guarantee you. Who's the head of transportation right now?
Isn't that Pete Buttigieg?
Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, you don't think he'll do anything about it? You think he's more executive platinum with American Airlines than Southwest?
What he's doing is he's just biding time before he runs for president again. That's all he's doing.
Did you like him when he ran? Were you somebody?
Did I like Pete?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely not.
So you were not a fan of his at all? Well, he was a hero for a lot of people, though.
Oh, not me.
Tell me why, though. Tell me why.
Well, I mean, look, the problem with Pete is that he's a young face on a representative of the old guard in the Democratic Party. So he represents the Hillary Clinton wing, the Joe Biden wing, and obviously somebody like me, I'm more from the Bernie Sanders wing of the party. So we look at him and we see politics as usual. We see nothing changing. We see the status quo.
But what part? What part do you not like about the Hillary Clinton, about the Joe Biden wing? What part do you not like?
So a number of things. First
By
of
the
all,
way, do you put Obama in that camp as well?
Obama, yes. I would say he's like 75% in that camp. I mean, I could list some things that he did that I like, but mostly he's in that camp. I mean, look, their economic policy is what I would call neoliberal corporatism, which is, again, a continuation of the status quo. Foreign policy-wise, he's hawkish, which, again, falls right in line with Hillary Clinton. She brought us Libya. She helped get us the Iraq War. Joe Biden, of course, helped get us the Iraq War as well. So when I look at him, I just see no change. I see a continuation of the status quo.
To you, by the way, what was most frustrating to me, I like a good fight, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I like a good fight. Like, I like seeing, yesterday, Luka, 60 points, 21 rebounds, 10 assists, first player ever to do it. I don't know if you follow basketball or not.
I do.
Insane statistic to do something like that. And the guy's interview said, did you know you scored 60 points? Did I? I scored 60? I'm tired. I mean, just something that you've never seen before. I like a good fight. It was overtime. I like a Joe Burrow against, Tom Brady or even the World Cup. A good fight.
Yeah, that was great.
It was so annoying when the announcement came about. Well, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, everybody else, Bernie Sanders is dropping out and they're all supporting Joe Biden. I wanted to see, you have no clue how bad I wanted to see Trump against Bernie.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been insane. I actually think they have some things that they agree on, which would have been interesting because I don't think they both like the swamp. I think.
Notice what just happened here. Kyle identifies Pete Buttigieg not as a fresh reform candidate, but as a shiny, focus-grouped wrapper around the exact same neoliberal corporate orthodoxy that has defined the party leadership for 30 years. And look at Patrick Bet-David's reaction. He doesn't defend Buttigieg's record or claim the primary was a pure, unmediated expression of Democratic voter will. He immediately relates to the frustration of watching a competitive primary get crushed from the top down. Pay attention to how Kyle breaks down the historical realignment of the party in this next segment, because this is where the receipts come in.
Both of them are against the swamp, and this is the second time they did it. Hillary did that, and now Biden did it, which is quite frustrating to see that happening. When you see that two times and that's your guy, how do you feel about it?
How do I feel about Bernie getting stabbed in the back?
Ousted, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, It tells you that there are very powerful forces behind the scenes at the top of the Democratic Party that would pull out all the stops in order to prevent somebody who would break the mold from taking power. Bernie, I think, is more in the mold of an FDR. And FDR very famously took on powerful interests. And what happened is in the 1990s, Bill Clinton came in, and he was this New Deal Democrat is what they called, or excuse me, not New Deal Democrat, New Democrat, which just means they had the DLC, Democratic Leadership Council. They decided, instead of us taking union money, teacher money, we're also going to start taking the same corporate money that the Republicans are taking. And so they decided, hey, look, I'm not on the left, I'm not on the right, I'm kind of in the middle, and I'm above the fray, and I'm an enlightened centrist. And what they did is made it so the Democratic Party was no longer a party of working people. And Bernie Sanders was trying to bring it back to a party of the working people. And they would not let that happen because they have all the money. Bernie Sanders, he famously, his campaign was built on small dollar donations. Mm-hmm. And that can get you a long way. But when there's more money on the other side and they're way more organized, and to your point, that is the organization that you just discussed. When you had, Mayor Pete, Beto O'Rourke, you had all these people drop out on the exact same day, right before a big election, and endorse Joe Biden.
So weird.
If
and it's
they
not
didn't
like
do
Joe
that,
was doing great. It's not like Joe was
he
killing
wasn't.
it. Yeah.
He got destroyed in Iowa. He got destroyed in New Hampshire. And look, if they didn't do that, Bernie Sanders would have won. Because
so that was the biggest fear. The biggest fear was, what if Bernie takes over and some of these ideas, some of these guys get some momentum?
Correct. Yeah. And also, I think if Bernie was president, I think he would have put Obama's record to shame. And so Obama also has a vested interest in
what way? In what way?
Obama has a vested interest in not allowing Bernie Sanders to become president, because if Bernie gets in there and Bernie does, let's say, universal health care, well, that puts Obamacare to shame. Because Obamacare is this, terrible half measure which keeps the for-profit health insurance companies in control.
What Kyle lay out on that couch isn't a conspiracy theory. It's documented political history. And the fact that a host like Patrick Bet-David nods along isn't because PBD suddenly converted to democratic socialism. It's because the physical receipts of how the party machinery operated in March 2020 are impossible to deny. Let's look at what actually happened in the 72 hours leading into Super Tuesday in 2020. Headed into South Carolina, Joe Biden was in freefall. He had finished 4th in Iowa with 13.7% of the vote, 5th in New Hampshire with 8.4%, and was distantly trailing Bernie Sanders in public polling across massive Super Tuesday states like California and Texas. Bernie had just won a decisive victory in Nevada, building a coalition of working-class voters and Latino communities. Then came South Carolina. Following a key endorsement from Representative Jim Clyburn, Biden won the state on Saturday, February 29th. What happened over the next 48 hours was an unprecedented, coordinated consolidation. Pete Buttigieg, who had literally won the Iowa caucuses and spent months building an operation, abruptly dropped out on Sunday, March 1st. Amy Klobuchar dropped out on Monday, March 2nd. Both immediately flew to Dallas, Texas, to stand on stage alongside Beto O'Rourke and endorse Joe Biden the night before Super Tuesday. Meanwhile, reporting from the New York Times later confirmed that Barack Obama was making private phone calls behind the scenes, including a call to Buttigieg signaling that it was time to fall in line and unite behind Biden to prevent Sanders from securing an unassailable delegate-led. Kyle's historical context about the Democratic Leadership Council DLC is equally crucial. Founded in 1985 by figures like Al Frum, Chuck Robb, and then Governor Bill Clinton, the DLC explicitly set out to dismantle the legacy of the New Deal and the Great Society. Their stated thesis was that for Democrats to win, they had to sever their primary reliance on labor unions and civil rights organizations and actively court Wall Street, real estate, and corporate donors. During the 1990s, that shift delivered deregulation, NAFTA, the 1994 crime bill, and the repeal of Glass-Steagall. By the time Bernie Sanders ran in 2016 and 2020 on small dollar donations, Medicare for all, and tuition-free public college, he wasn't just running against individual political opponents. He was threatening the financial model of the entire party structure. A Bernie victory would have proven that a national campaign could succeed without corporate PACs, health insurance lobbyists, or defense contractor bundlers. That is why the establishment pulled every lever at its disposal ahead of Super Tuesday. The lesson here isn't just about 2020. It's about how political power actually operates in Washington. When progressive commentators pretend the party establishment is just a neutral referee, they lose credibility. And when right-wing hosts point out those contradictions, progressives need to be armed with the actual receipts, the exact timeline, and the structural analysis to explain why it happened. If you believe in media that holds both party establishments accountable, tells the truth about corporate money and politics, and relies on real receipts instead of access journalism, hit the subscribe button right now. I'm Neel. Hold the powerful accountable, stick to the facts, and never let them sell you the corporate status quo as progress. That's the honest perspective, and that's where I'll leave you.